I was 11 years old. It was late October, and I was home alone. My favorite television channel at the time was AMC, and I loved watching their shows and movie marathons. My parents had left me at the house by myself in the evening, and this was new to me. They had just started letting me spend time at the house by myself the week before, and it was a lot of fun. I sneaked some ice cream and snacks, but all I did was watch TV or play video games on our big family room TV. And this time that they left me alone, I decided to see what was on AMC. As you may know, AMC hosts a horror movie marathon that lasts practically all month leading up to Halloween. And this is the first true horror movie that I will ever watch alone. 11 years old, sitting in the dark of my living room, and scared to death. That movie was Halloween. Now in 2018, we are receiving another entry into the series. Supposedly, it is creating a new continuity, ignoring all the films except the first one. Naturally, I'm very excited for this new film. After only watching snippets from the trailer, I think it looks awesome. So I thought it'd be fun and go watch the 9 movies released since 1978. Not counting Halloween 3 Season of a Witch, that isn't a Halloween movie. Okay? So let's start at the beginning. Halloween 1978. This is the film that started it all, and it was made for a mere $300,000. It earned back 233 times that. As the first true slasher flick, its reach and influence is immeasurable. And even today, this film is creepy, and it may not be as scary or elicit the response that would make it the most scary film of all time, but it wasn't meant to. It was perfect for its time, and it's perfect for people looking to get into the horror genre to see what types of scares actually scare people. What makes this film stick out is Carpenter's score. The score, along with the lighting, create a dread unlike anything that I ever felt before. And there is so much about this film that still works today. Michael stalking someone in broad daylight. The shots of Michael staring at Laurie through the windows behind a bush amongst hanging laundry all creep me the hell out. But I think what makes you feel connected to the events of this film is the opening scene. Seeing everything through the eye of the killer primes your brain to think from his perspective. It also shows you the victim's perspective and how clueless and helpless she was in the act. In the later parts of the movie, when Michael is stalking his various victims, you understand what's going through his mind, and you understand what's coming towards the victims. And every time I watch this movie, I realize more and more about its amazing qualities. If this was getting a score out of 100, it would get a 98. It is no doubt transcendent. Three years after the first film, the sequel was released. But like most, it was not as good as the first. Now, I do think it's underrated by the online community. The Rotten Tomatoes score is really nothing to be proud of. The aspect of the movie that works the best is how creepy Michael can be. There are a fair amount of creepy moments, with Michael stalking people or just walking through their house. The jump scares are intense, but sometimes don't really have payoffs. Ultimately, it does fall very short of the standard the first movie set, and that's because of what the plot requires of the characters. Roger Ebert called the main antagonist of this film the idiot plot, which requires everyone in that movie to behave at all times like an idiot. And I totally agree with him. For example, the car crash scene. It's To me, wholly unbelievable.
Is that him? I don't know. Get back!
Why would this kid not just put up his hands
Get back!
and comply? Or at least try to figure out what's going on, instead of running away from a guy with a gun that's also standing next to a police officer. Then a car just comes out of nowhere and runs him over, and it's probably one of the most funny scenes in the whole series. As I said before, Michael is creepy, and the first scenes of him walking around Haddonfield are sinister. But there was no opportunity for Michael to make himself felt by the audience like he was in the first film. He was just there. He's actually part of the world now. He's not the thing in the background that you focus on for the entire scene to keep tabs on. There's no real threat to him being there in broad daylight. If this film had even relied a small bit more on subtlety rather than big cumbersome scenes, and forced villain interactions, it would have been a demonstrably better film. But that's not how it happened. I'm of the opinion, if you include the first movie, it might be the best 2 horror film series ever released. We'll just have to wait to see if It Part 2 is actually as good as the first It. Since I'm rating these now out of 100, I think I'm going to give this an 86. It's definitely not the worst thing out there, and I think it's pretty good. Mostly on the coattails of the first movie.